they're happening on traditional Roman sacrificial events. And the 22nd of the month, of course, has been figured in a number of false flag operations.
A következő műsor megtekintése 18 éven aluliak számára nem ajánlott.
When I was 4 years old, I'm the oldest one from the whole family, and it's a church ritual. And that was what they did to me when I was 4 years old. And then they put me on my stomach on the table, and the vicar, he put his fingers in my vagina, and it was bleeding. And then my grandfather did it, not with his fingers but with his penis, and all they were singing and And then my uncle did the same, and it took an hour before they were ready in the hole. It was a blanket, a white blanket for I was on laying, but it was totally red. My grandfather, he paid the figure for this holy sacrificing thing.
Who were your grandpa and uncle and all of them connected to that they were involved in this ritualistic rape and abuse? What is the connection? Is it like a Freemasons or cult or satanic organization?
For me it's from the church. And
you said the vicar was present at the ceremony. How did you know he was the vicar? Were they calling him by that name, or did you recognize him? Or
I know it.
You know.
So your mother used to give you an orgasm?
Yeah.
Stimulate you?
Yeah.
Your mother was sexually abusing you too?
Yeah.
Okay.
My mother trained me, and it was a training for the Freemasons, it's an examination, a kind of examination, if they will come through or not, if they are really pedophile or
so it's initiation.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
And that was at about 5-6 kilometers from our home. There was a small castle in the wood, in the forest, and they brought me there when I was 6 years old.
Let's talk about the castle in the forest.
The house doctor, he was the one who took me there. Then he put hoe noem je dat? Een ooievaarsbek.
So to speak.
That thing you put into when you go to the gynecologist, the cold metal duck looking thing.
Yeah, duck.
Yeah.
How do you call it?
We call it a duck.
A duck. He put a duck in my vagina and then he stimulated the clitoris. So there I got an orgasm. And the one who couldn't have or who didn't get an erection fell down in there was one hole in the circle, and then that hole went open and he fell out through it, and during that falling, how it was exactly done I don't know, but the man got off his hole.
Okay, so because he didn't get an erection, looking at you having this done to you, they cut off his penis and threw him down a hole.
Yeah. And on that castle where the Freemasons examination was, it was in the forest. They had some hunting. They hunted, I would like to say us. There were more, me and also my sister, and there were more. But it was at night, it was dark.
What did they do exactly on the hunting?
What I remember, I was naked and it was cold. And there was on my feet, I put my feet in a clam so I couldn't go on any longer.
I'm sorry, on a what?
I know.
Like a bear trap, a clamp.
Yeah.
Like you had a trap around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was with Prince Bernard.
I'm sorry.
Prince Bernard, the former
And
king of...
Cardinal Alfring.
Cardinal.
Alfring.
He was a Catholic cardinal?
Yes. Yeah.
And the Prince Bernhard.
Yeah, Prince Bernard of the Netherlands, the man who set up Bilderberg.
In Scotland there was Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the upper rabbi of the Jewish people. That was with my doctor, with Schneerson and Lord Mountbatten.
Lord Mountbatten. The Queen's husband, the Queen of England's husband is a Mountbatten.
And there was also the Pope, Pope Johannes II.
John Paul II.
Yeah.
The Polish Pope.
Yeah. And Schneerson, Menachem Mendel Schneerson, and my doctor.
I'm sorry, is that near Munich? This castle near Munich?
This one.
Yeah. Near München.
Near München. Füssen. Füssen is it is 2 kilometers from Füssen away. It's totally to the Austrian border.
Ratzinger was from Munich.
I not knowing every name, I only knew a few. And also the bishop from Munster was there.
So it's all bishops, you've got all bishops, and the Pope.
Bishops and the Pope and the upper rabbin, the rabbin, the upper rabbin. That was
Jewish rabbinical upper rabbis. Okay,
that was Schneerson.
that's interesting. All together.
Yeah, all together.
Okay.
So
What were they doing?
they were. I always was naked, and they put jokes on me. They tortured me again.
What about the Pope? Was there anything he did? Do you
They all
recall?
raped me. It was not one of them who didn't do anything. They did it all.
Did they all torture you as well?
No.
So did they take turns together in a group, or was it one by one?
No, it was a group.
Okay.
and he put jokes on me, and you are nothing for them. Only a toy, and Alfred. He pissed on me, and I opened my mouth, so I had a little bit more to survive.
What happened to the children? Were they ever caught and killed?
They were killed, and also on the Springenberg, where I first had where I was talking about hunting. The children who are killed, sometimes what they do, the same with when they hunt on rabbits or animals, they eat them. They do the thing.
Did you ever see them kill the children and eat them? You actually see it?
Yeah, I have to.
Tell us a bit
Or
more.
they give it to the dogs, or both.
My name is Annemarie van Blijenburg. I have been married for 24 years met Kees van Korlaar. Kees van Korlaar, together with his 3 brothers, form a criminal organization known as the Octopus Syndicate. They work from 1960 on till the day of today. In order of Queen Beatrix, they have organized martel, torture, rape and killing of children in a public setting. They organized that through youth detention centers in the Netherlands. The youth detention centers were told that the criminals were asking for the Dutch court for children who could work with the Dutch Queen for a certain period. The child was put on a table and were giving something to drink, and in that drink, with the drink, the child was drugged. Besides that hotel was a building where the performance should take place. In that building, the people were sat down, and at a certain moment, the child was brought into that building by the criminals, was tortured, raped, and brutally murdered before those people. The criminals could put on photo, so they could blackmail those people and get criminal advantages from that.
Could you name some of the people who were present?
The people that I recognized there were, for instance, Prince Johan Friso, his steady psychiatrist, Gus Barol Dumont. I recognized Mabel Wisse-Smit. She was there with an old steady man, I think it was George Soros. There were about 50 people every time I was taken there. I have been taken there 3 times. I have seen every time kill a child, a child was killed, and I have seen 2 boys killed. I have seen 1 girl killed, and that some of those people of the detention center told the journalist that they thought that Queen Beatrix was eating those children up.
Többnyire ezek a szabadkőműves mozgalmak, ezek jó szándékú emberekből állnak, és az a céljuk, hogy a világ, az emberiség jobb állapotban éljen. Tehát ez nem azt jelenti, hogy én most benn vagyok egy páholyba, csupán azt tudom mondani, hogy nem maga az ördögnek a gyermekei, nem a patások. És ugyanakkor el lehet mondani, mind a Soros úrról is, hogy nagy adakozók. Például Budapesten egy egyetem, tudom, hogy most erre a lelki fülemmel hallom a hangot, hogy bárcsak megszűnne, de ne szűnjön meg, mert van egy egyetem, Közép-Európai Egyetem, amit szintén Soros úr finanszíroz, és a világ más táján is nagyon nagy adományokat ad Soros úr. Ő sem törvénytelenül gazdagodott meg, hanem tisztességes módon gazdagodott meg.
Into the creation of a new world order, financial world order.
Nell'edificazione di un nuovo ordine mondiale.
Most is működnek Magyarországon szabadkőművesek, 2 nagy páholy, női páholyok is vannak most már, és talán következtetés lehet levonni a mostani titkos működésük kapcsán is, hogy ha régen úgy működtek, akkor talán most is hasonló célokat tűznek ki maguk elé.
Mai magyar politikából tudna említeni néhány szabadkőművest?
Hát nem szívesen mondok neveket, mert nem ismerem a belépési nyilatkozatukat. Én a 950 előtti időkből tudok neveket mondani, az viszont tény, hogy mind a mostani magyar parlamentben, a különböző politikai pártokban, a baloldaltól a jobboldalig bezárólag nagyon komoly pozíciójú emberek szabadkőművesek. A gondok akkor keletkeznek, amikor politizálni, konkrétan pártpolitizálni kezdenek. Például az egyik mostani pártnak, a baloldali parlamenti pártnak a vezetője, egész pontosan az elnöke, az egyik budapesti nagypáholynak a helyettes nagymestere. Tehát van olyan szabadkőműves páholy, amiről a magyar lakosság nem tud semmit, amelynek parlamenti pártja van. Tehát a gondok azok itt kezdődnek, amikor rejtetten próbálnak, rejtetten, azaz nem demokratikus módon beleszólni a politikai életbe.
Magyarországon nem csak szabad ügyvédválasztás van, szabad kőműves választás is van, éppen ugyanakkor viszont örülök, hogy sikert aratott.
Recently, the chief exorcist at the Vatican reported that the devil was in the Vatican.
Morgan. Wolf, Reverend Gabriele Amorth made headlines around the world recently when he said the devil was present in the Vatican. You're talking about something very real, aren't you?
Certo, realissima. Vi dico, se credete al Vangelo, credete all'esistenza del demonio.
Absolutely, very real.
As to the devil's presence in the Vatican, he says that's no surprise. He once had to perform an exorcism on another exorcist.
The first thing we need to do if we're going to find out if the devil is at the Vatican is take a tour underneath the Vatican. As we arrive underneath the Vatican, we see that it's laid out in a number of rooms marked by letters, as we can see in this aerial view map. Now we will be exploring some of the rooms in this map. Let's start off by looking in room C here. As we look into the room, we see that this is a mausoleum of Lucius Tullius Zethus. The Vatican goes on and explains that this room was used for offerings to the dead. We read, view of the north wall and mosaic floor. In the corners of the mosaic floor there are 8 marble squares with circular holes through which offerings to the dead were poured during the funeral rites carried out in the burial chamber. So here we have a room where offerings are done to the dead. That's pretty common in Catholicism. Now if we look in the next room, room E, so here in this room they have a vase which has the image of a Medusa. So here underneath the Vatican we have a Medusa. Again, we ask ourselves the question, This is a vase, but yet it's kept underneath the Vatican. This could have easily been removed. If the Vatican was a holy church, you would think that they would have done this. You think underneath the Vatican they would have things that are sacred to Christ and not foreign gods, not idols and images of foreign gods. Now, as we move down further to room H, here we see that this is the mausoleum that is one of the largest and most luxurious mausoleums underneath the Vatican of St. Peter's Basilica. It says that it was built at the beginning of the second half of the 2nd century during the reign of Emperor Marcus Aurelius and belonging to a freedman of the important Valeri family. And as we're in this mausoleum, we see that there's lots of idols from the old Roman Empire. We ask ourselves, why does Rome keep these idols down underneath St. Peter's Basilica? You would think if they were Christians, they would want to clean all this out. I can't imagine anybody who has a true church would keep idols in their churches, especially pagan idols left over from a bygone pagan era. But here we have the Vatican keeping many pagan idols underneath St. Peter's Basilica. Here is an idol the Vatican is displaying of a head of a child in gilded stucco and a lock of a hair typical of one initiated into the cult of Isis. And this particular idol is an idol of a boy who was initiated into the cult of Isis. If we look in this room, we see that some of the stucco decorating the walls. Here we have a personification of Oceanus. You remember the New Testament book of Revelation says that a beast comes out of the ocean. And so we say, why is the Vatican having these foreign gods underneath its basilica? Why is it protecting them? If it was a true church, it couldn't be doing it for the sake of art, especially with all the evil things that are happening in the Vatican. And as the priest earlier said, that evil does exist, the devil is real, as he admitted. But the hypocrisy of all of this is that they have all these evil images and idols underneath the Vatican of St. Peter's Basilica. We also see two figures of genuses with bat wings also portrayed on the walls. Again, this is supposed to be a holy church and a holy place. Now, this is supposedly all there for many, many years. As we move into the next room, room I, the details of the mosaic floor with Mercury and Pluto's chariot, they go on and explain that this theme is an explicit reference to the overcoming of death and the return of the afterlife. They describe it as a splendid mosaic floor of Mercury is depicted carrying a caduceus with wings at his ankles, walking in front, and a chariot carrying Pluto and his wife Persephone. So here we have all these Roman gods underneath the Vatican, images of foreign gods. Well, as we move to the next room, we find out why they keep all these idols down there and these images. As we move to room U, here we find the shock of all shocks. Here on the wall, it says there is a depiction of Lucifer, that is, the light bearer, the morning star. On the opposite of the wall, there is a drawing of Vesper, the evening star, cosmic symbol of the human life cycle. We find out that when we get to room U, here we have a clear depiction of Lucifer underneath the Vatican at St. Peter's Basilica. We ask ourselves, why are they keeping this image of Lucifer underneath the Vatican? Again, you would think if you're a Christian church, you would not want to have any of these images. Now we know that they'll go on and say, oh, well, we're saving it because it's a UNESCO heritage site or something like that. This is always their excuse, saving it for the sake of art. But for the true Christian, this is not an excuse, because we know if you're giving glory and propaganda to false deities and false pagan gods, what are you doing? You're in essence supporting the evil spiritual realm. This cannot be from God. And since Rome claims itself to be the one true church, you would think they would lead by example. But what kind of example is this? That you have a depiction of Lucifer underneath the Vatican for countless hundreds and hundreds of years? Now this image here underneath the Vatican has been there since their claim, which would be Constantine. We would know that he was the first one that built this basilica. And so again we ask ourselves, why are they keeping this depiction of Lucifer underneath the Vatican? Well, we think the answer for why all these images, idols, are kept underneath the Vatican is because what we're dealing with here is we're dealing with an apostate church that has always been apostate, and even now as it is filled with Freemasons. And so we know that the reason why they're keeping all this there now, and they're actually revealing this on their internet website, is because they want people to see this. They want people to see what they're really all about. For the masses who believe that Rome is still a pure church, they don't mind deceiving them into believing that they are still a Christian church. As you go down underneath the Vatican, down into the next rooms, they will try to convince you on this tour that you take that Peter is buried down there in one of the rooms, and that this gives credence to following the Pope. But we ask the question, why would you want to follow a Pope who has all these evil things underneath his church? It's very clear by this depiction of Lucifer that the devil is in the Vatican. Now, if you are a Catholic and you are watching this video, we want to encourage you to come out of that church. As you can see from these images and these idols that are kept underneath your church, we would hope that you would soberly think about these things and ask yourself the question, if my church is a true church, why is it promoting these things? Why does it even want people to see these things?
According to ecumenical protocol, the Eastern Orthodox would be first in order, as they are, of course, first in priority in the Catholic Church's ecumenical responsibility.
The legate and ecumenical officer of the Eastern Diocese of the Armenian Church in America and president of the National Council of Churches in the United States. Holiness, may I present Reverend Dr. Donald McCoy, representing the presiding Bishop Mark Hansen of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. I present Bishop Jeremiah J. Park, Bishop of the New York Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. This may I present Reverend Wesley Granberg Michelson, the General Secretary of the Reformed Church in America. Present Reverend Dr. Clifton Kirkpatrick, the stated clerk of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church in the United States. Your Holiness, may I present Reverend Dr. William J. Shaw, President of the National Baptist Convention, United States. Holiness, may I present Bishop James Leggett, General Superintendent of the International Pentecost Holiness Church. Your Holiness, may I present Dr. Leith Anderson, President of the National Association of Evangelicals. Present Bishop David H. Benke, President of the Atlantic District of the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod. Your Holiness, may I present Reverend Dr. A.R. Bernard Sr., President of the Council of Churches of the City of New York. Holiness, may I present Elder Bernice King, daughter of the civil rights leaders Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. Your Holiness, may I present the Right Reverend Mark Sisk, Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of New York.
Benedict XVI met Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán at the Vatican.